Hello, and welcome to another episode of Give Yourself Some Leeway with me, your host, Eugene Lee. Today, I want to share another book summary of one of the most impactful books from my burnout recovery journey. Now, given that my recovery journey took about 3 years, and being an avid reader and listening to audiobooks when I went for my walks, my long walks in nature, I got through a lot of books. But I want to share the ones that I found had the greatest insight during my recovery journey. And today I want to share Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. For those of you not familiar with Eckhart Tolle, he's a spiritual teacher and self-help author who talks a lot about letting go of your attachments to the past and the future and embrace the beauty of living in the present moment. Now, throughout this book, The Power of Now, Toll shares these insights that help us break free from the shackles of our mind and find true inner beauty and peace. So I really hope you enjoy my key takeaways from The Power of Now. And yeah, I hope you get some value from this episode. You can always just let me know, send me a DM or an email, and reach out at giveyourselfsomeleeway.com. Now, one of the central teachings of The Power of Now revolves around the understanding that the nature of the ego and its role in our lives. Toll reminds us that the ego is not who we truly are, but rather a mental construct formed by our identification with our thoughts, our emotions, and our external possessions. It's like that incessant voice inside our heads that often keeps us stuck in this pattern of worry, regret, and fear. Uh, in The Power of Now, Toll puts it really beautifully as the more you are identified with your thinking, your likes, your dislikes, judgments, and interpretations, which are all part of the egoic mind, the more you suffer. So let's take an example of this. Imagine you had an argument with your best friend a few days ago, and the ego keeps replaying that incident in your mind, making you feel angry and resentful about how you handled the situation and how you could have come back with a smarter comeback or a smarter response and you didn't, and how you should have handled that situation. In these moments, we need to remind ourselves that dwelling on that past situation only perpetuates the suffering. You probably suffered a lot in that argument. It was probably a traumatic experience, but only by dwelling on it, you're making that sense of suffering last longer. So, the first step to overcoming the egoic mind and these thoughts that make you suffer is to observe these thoughts and emotions whenever they pop up. Observe them without judgment. Whenever you notice that the ego is taking control, simply acknowledge it without getting entangled in the egoic narrative. You are not anger. You are observing the angry emotion that you are feeling. You are observing. You have the control not to dwell on that past moment. See it for what it is, a thought, an emotion, and move past that suffering. Try to live in the present. The next key takeaway is the power of presence. Now, this is obviously the one of the core messages of the power of now. It's the power of being present. And Toll emphasizes the significance of living in the present moment time and time again. He explains that the past and the future are mere illusions, and the true essence of life lies in the now. By being fully present, we can connect with our inner being, experience profound joy, and foster meaningful relationships. He writes, realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. So, just to help bring this lesson to life, I want to share a personal story. So, a few years ago, I really found myself caught up in the rat race, always thinking about what's the next goal, what's the next achievement, not dwelling on what I was completing today, what tasks I was completing today, but always what's the next best thing I can do? What's the next big goal? And when your mind is constantly racing like that, it's really hard to appreciate life's simple pleasures. And one day I was going on my walk through the park, just walking in nature. And I noticed the way the kids just playing catch or tag around the field. And it struck me that they were fully immersed in this present moment. They weren't worrying about that bill they need to pay at the end of the month or what bins they need to take out this week for recycling or for waste, or they weren't worrying about how do I manage my taxes. They don't have these recurring things in their head. They weren't worrying about how does this game of catch build my character so that I can add it to my resume. They were completely living in the moment, just playing that game of catch, as competitive or as playful as they wanted to be. And whenever that game of catch was up, they didn't dwell on the past of it either. It struck me that I had lost this childlike wonder and presence in the moment. Now, to overcome this or to reintroduce this childlike presence in our lives, one way we can do this is by practicing mindfulness. This is simply engaging in whatever activity you're doing, whether it's eating. Mindful eating is one of my favorite mindfulness practices, and I'd love to get more into this, but it's just being fully attentive in the moment while you are eating. The taste, the texture, the sensual feeling of foods, especially the likes of something full of herbs like a pesto or a chili or a cheese, a strong red cheddar cheese. Being mindful in those moments, especially, oh my God, I could go on another rant about eating, but anyway, just being mindful in that moment, or maybe it's walking in nature. You're smelling the fresh air. You're looking at the leaves on the trees, the different shapes of the leaves, the different colors of the flowers. You're listening to the different bird songs. You're being mindful in that moment too. Or maybe you're engaging in a conversation with family, friends, or loved ones, and you're being fully present in the moment. Your mind isn't wandering off mid conversation. You are giving them your full attention and being fully engaged in that conversation. Let go of all the distractions in your life and immerse yourself completely in that present moment. The next lesson in the power of now is about embracing acceptance. And here Tolle reminds us that resistance to the present moment always causes suffering. Acceptance is the key to liberation. Instead of fighting against what is, we should embrace it with open arms, even in the most challenging situations. By doing so, we break free from the unnecessary pain and open ourselves up to creative situations. Toll puts this really beautifully in the book. He says, whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Now, to illustrate this example a bit more, I had a friend who had been struggling to get a job for a few months now. And it was pretty visible that you could see his frustration and disappointment with being unemployed for so long. He resisted it so much it only added to his stress of being unemployed. However, he took the time to attend a mindfulness retreat in France. And there he learned the art of acceptance. And he realized that fighting against his unemployment status only exacerbated his suffering. So he started to embrace the situation for what it was with a new perspective. Instead of dwelling so much on how he couldn't get a job, he had this newfound perspective to focus on the opportunities that it gave him, the opportunities for growth and self discovery during this phase. He had more time and he could use this newfound time to focus on developing himself or finding out what he truly wanted to do with his life. So, next time that you encounter a difficult situation, take a step back, take a deep breath, and just consciously choose to accept the situation rather than resist it. Ask yourself, is there anything that you can do to control the situation, to improve the situation? And if not, just release the need to control it and accept it for what it is. So I really hope you enjoyed those 3 key takeaways. Just going over them again. The first key takeaway is becoming aware of your egoic mind. Observe your thoughts and your emotions without judgment. They are not you. You are not your anger. You are not your resentment. These are emotions and thoughts that you observe. You can acknowledge them, but don't let them control you. The next is the power of the present moment. By practicing mindfulness throughout the day and fully engaging in every activity, giving it your all and not getting distracted midway through, by being fully focused in the moment, you can discover the power of being present and embrace acceptance. In challenging situations, if you cannot control the outcome, don't resist the outcome. Don't resist the situation. Accept it for what it is. Embrace it for what it is. And if it's a challenging situation and you can't control the outcome, you can always come up with a creative solution once you embrace it for what it is, rather than trying to put up a facade. So I really hope you enjoyed this summary, and I hope it encourages you to pick up the book or maybe even just the audiobook. I highly recommend the audiobook because Eckhart Tolle has this really soothing, calming voice. So if you just throw on the book for 10, 20 minutes a day, I 100% guarantee it'll help calm you down. If you want to go deeper into this, you can always reach out to me at giveyourselfsomeleeway.com. You can look at the rest of the podcast there. You can book a call with me as well, or you can check out the coaching. But until next time, if I don't hear from you, take care.